So in grade 7 term 2 they need to do atoms, basically the periodic table. So how I started with the periodic table is started with an extra little bit that's not in the curriculum, and that's the basics of atoms. And what I did is I started with the Earth and the Moon, and I wanted to see if I could get the children to link this new idea of atoms with electrons, protons and neutrons, to something they already know. So we spoke about this. We spoke about the Earth and the Moon rotating the Earth, orbiting the Earth, and then we looked at, but I didn't tell them what this is. I told them, does this plus little circle and this yellow thing that's moving around it look precisely the same as this part? And they said yes. And then I told them about atoms, which is the particles that make up everything. But we've just spoken about particles so far. Now we've given this a name. The reason I did this was I wanted them to know what the periodic table is about. Because I've discovered in the previous years that I've been teaching that children don't fully understand the phenomenon of atoms and why there are elements and what elements are and how the periodic table fits into everything. So we wanted a discovery. And I said, right, let's look at the first atom. This is what an atom looks like. This is a proton and this is an electron. The proton is positive, electron is negative. Just like the Earth keeps the Moon in orbit, thus this positive proton keeps the negative electron. And we've looked at all of them, and we've gone through oxygen, we've gone through fluorine, and then the children said, but sir, it looks like every time you go from number 1 to number 2, number 3, 4, the protons are 1, 2, 3, 4, and the electrons are 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. So what I did here is I wanted them to make the discovery that the periodic table is set out because of the protons being plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, and this is why I did this, so that they could discover it. So in the lessons, I first got them to understand what atoms are. I got them to make a connection between something they know, the Earth and the Moon, and something they don't know, just to give them a picture of what's going on. The next part was to make them understand that these different parts of the proton, the different parts of the atom, make up the atom. Because I've noticed that children think the electrons are something outside the atom, and the protons and neutrons are the atom itself. So I started doing an atom dance, and it goes like this. So the brain is the proton, because the moment you change something in your brain, your entire person, your personality, everything changes. Because the children have noticed that when we go from a hydrogen, 1 proton, to a helium, 2 protons, it's entirely different. So your brain is your proton, the body is the neutron, because they've noticed that sometimes there's not the same amount of neutrons as protons. So we've said the body is the neutrons, because sometimes you can lose a limb, but you're still you're still who you are. The brain is the proton, the body is the neutrons, the hands are the electrons that we use to bond, because bonding occurs with either covalent bonding, ionic bonding, metallic bonding. So I want them to notice and think about it. Your hands, you shake someone's hand, you greet them, you bond with them. So the brain is the proton, the body is the neutron, the hands are the electrons that we use to bond, and all of this makes up the atom. This is a fun way that I feel children could remember atoms. It's linked to something they know, it's visual, and I started doing this last year, and I've noticed sometimes in the exams, or when I give class tests, the children sit, they go, and then they write down. So I feel this really works. It gets them to understand something that's totally new to them, an idea that they can't see, and so far it's been working out pretty well.